once it starts. All right. All right, Sports Bucks with Steve, and we always got to get my theme song on playing, guys, and we are glad to have, this is Wealth Coach, the retirement wealth coach, Steve Crawford, certified financial fiduciary, and I got to have my theme song, and I got a special guest today, Mr. Gene Lieberman, who is a Cowboys aficionado, going back.
Thanks, Steve.
Expert. So we got Gene on from Jersey. Gene from Jersey is what we're going to call him moving forward. I don't want to say his last name. It's too long. So this is Gene from Jersey. This is Sports Bucks with Steve. And please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and tell a friend. Gene, welcome to the special edition of Sports Bucks with Steve. And I call this Cowboys check-in.
Thanks, Steve. I'm actually really excited for my first time.
Gene, how long have you been a Cowboy fan?
Since 1977.
That's about the same time I was a Cowboy fan. I think, is that Tony Dorsett's inaugural season?
I believe so it was. And obviously I was a little tyke. I won't say my age, but a little and believe it or not, the way I became a Cowboys fan, I mean, really a Cowboys fan, which took a few years, was because in those days, the Cowboys were playing every Sunday in New York. I was living in New York. And it wasn't the Cowboys. Yes, it was the Star. I liked the Star. I came from a foreign country, so I saw the Star in the helmet, but I got to like the girls, the cheerleaders. So they would play every day. I mean, every weekend. You didn't have the Giants or the Jets playing very often because it was America's team. And so, you know, even in New York, they were playing every Sunday on TV. And basically, that's how I became a Cowboys fan.
Well, it was the same for me. I remember watching, and I don't know if it was during the season or it was the Super Bowl, and it was against the Broncos. And I remember looking at, I say, man, I like that Star. I just really like that Star. And I watched that game, and I still remember the score. It was 27-10 Cowboys. So this is how far back I go, and I remember being excited. And then, as I started to get a little bit older, I started to notice the cheerleaders, right? And then they even had a special. The cheerleaders had their own TV special.
They had their own show. I mean, even a bunch of years ago, they had the cheerleaders, you know, how to become a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. They had that on TV as well. Yeah. You know, the auditions and everything else. And, you know, listen. You know, you married the Star and the cheerleaders, and there you go.
Absolutely. You know who else had good cheerleaders? I think it was the Raiders, the Raiderettes.
Yes.
They had good cheerleaders. Everybody else's cheerleaders was They started trying to be like us and the Raiders, and so
it's like the dark side. You know, the Raiders, the dark team, the Cowboys. You know, the on the white horse and everything else, and you got the Pirates, basically the bad boys, and you know they had the bad girls.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about, we're looking at, I had a list of all of these different free agents, but I want to talk about, I know we've been talking a little bit about the draft and sort of the upcoming draft, and we just got finished going and watching the combine. So Gene, my question to you is, if you watch the combine, what do you think is Dallas's biggest need this upcoming season? What do you think we need to get out of the draft, if not a trade as well?
Well, I think here's obviously we don't know who they're gonna get into free agency, right? We're all hoping that they're going to land at least one star, not bottom of the barrel,
Right.
third, fourth round of free agency, and they've hit on some guys, but it's not the same. And I think the Eagles and other teams have shown that hey, you got to get some high powered people, so they need wide receiving. I think they still need a defensive tackle. I love Hankins. I think he definitely should be re-signed for another 1-year contract because when he was in there, they were much better.
Oh yeah,
he plugged up the holes, allowed the linebackers, Van Der Esch, who had a good year considering what he's had in the last few years, and then obviously freed up Michael Parsons. But they need a cornerback too. I mean, I love Bland. I don't know if they're going to re-sign Brown maybe for a year or Lewis. They probably let one of those go, maybe both of them go. So they obviously need cornerbacks.
I'm of the UPS. What can Brown do for you? And nothing. I need him gone. Right. I need him off the team.
I will say, as a sixth-round pick, he outplayed his draft status.
You know what? That's a great one that you just mentioned, that he outplayed his draft status, because to me, there's another guy. I want you to finish your thought, who has actually outplayed his draft status, but he came a couple of rounds early. But finish your thought, because that's a good segue. I want to go to an interview with Jerry Jones and all of his But to finish your thought about Anthony Brown.
And again, Brown, with all that speed, he didn't have the natural instincts. He had that speed. 4.3, 4.4 speed, but somehow he's always getting burned periodically. Guys were getting behind him, but he had a good career as a sixth rounder. To have more than just his 4 years of service. He got an extra contract, so he really did a fairly good job considering where he came from. Look at what happened to the Cowboys last year after he left out.
Didn't he come out of Purdue? I believe he came out of Purdue.
I believe he did, and obviously, again, when he was out last year, look how they struggled on that side. Joseph has been a complete disappointment. I don't know where he's at as maybe this is his last year to even try to stay with the team. This is his third year going. I don't know if his heart is in it, but quarterback obviously is something that they need. The question is, who's going to be there at 26 if they don't trade down or trade up?
Yeah, and I think that they were looking at, some folks have said, maybe a tight end. I heard somebody talk about the big tight end out of Georgia who had a phenomenal combine. But I've also heard guard Osiris. I think the kid's name out of Florida.
I would be surprised if he was a first-round pick. I heard the tight end because by the time they get there, the tight end may be the best player available. And obviously with Schultz is not going to get re-signed. Again, Schultz in the last 2 years has really played well. Has been the blanket that Dak has needed. So would I be surprised if they took a tight end in the first round? No. Would I want them to take a tight end in the first round? No. But who is going to be available? Are they going to go for the best player available, who may be a tight end, or, I could see them getting a guard. If Tyler's, because look, if they're not going to re-sign Connor McGovern, there's a hole there. Is Forniak ready to play guard? I know he's more of a center. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. And I heard they've been negotiating with Tyron Smith again, so they may be keeping Tyler Smith at the guard position. The other tight end I did like, though, this kid really had a great combine, is the kid out of Old Dominion. Kuntz, I think his name was Zach Kuntz or something like that. He was an athletic freak. He set some high numbers.
Is that the six? I heard there's a 6'7" guy, 6'8" guy.
Yeah, I think he's maybe 6'7".
Who can also block, who can be certainly help them dominate the run game, but also down in the goal line area be certainly a weapon. Because again, Dak needs friendly weapons. 6'8" guy, not a bad way to go either.
Not a bad target. I mean, I know a few years people had wanted him to float around because Dez wasn't the same, guy he was as far as his go route. But red zone, we like the big target, right? Throw me the ball, and we know that he was always the guy that would go up and get it. But here's what I want to show you. There's a video I want to play. There's a couple of them that I've looked at, and I want to talk. First of all, I think I want to hear from Dak, because this is the 4th round guy who I believe has outdone his draft position, right? We're talking about a franchise quarterback that the Dallas Cowboys were fortunate enough to pick up in the 4th round. That doesn't happen too often, right? We're looking for guys that, so that's another guy who people have talked about his contract. And Jerry Jones, I'm going to figure out which one I'll play, has all talked about how we can't do this and that. But when you actually know the numbers, let me show you something. I thought I saw some numbers here about Dak's contract. So this is what Jerry Jones has been trying to give us, this salesman. In 2016, God. Dak's cap hit was $500,000. In 2017, it was $600,000. In 2018, it was $700,000. In 2019, it was $2.1 million. And in 2020, when he got tagged, it went to $31.4 million. So you're telling me in those previous years, you couldn't add talent. And now you're trying to tell me that now that you have this. Yeah, it's false. We just saw Derek Carr get signed to the Saints, who had no cap space. We talked about this over the phone because Gene and I talk over the phone, guys. So you have no idea what we talk about. But Gene, Derek Carr, weren't the Saints like $55 million or something over the cap, something crazy number?
But they apparently, but it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
But you're 100% right though. With Dak all those years, and they couldn't put together the talent around him, like the defense. You know, remember, a lot of times we complained it was the defense that faulted, right? The defense couldn't stop anybody. Dak was putting up numbers, they were scoring, but they just didn't have that defense. Now they have the defense, and now they got to shore up the offense because they can do it. Because how's it that the Rams, Tampa Bay, the last few years are getting these free agents? They're going for it. They're winning because at least getting to the Super Bowl like the Eagles did. But the point is, they're loading up on free agent after free agent. The Eagles have got like 4 or 5 guys last year, and there they go in the Super Bowl. How? Yet we can't do it. We're somehow magically can't surround Dak with the offensive players that we need, or other players or free agents, and we got to go to the bottom of the barrel. Late after the draft.
The Dallas loves to go discount shopping, so it's interesting. I've got so many videos I want to share, but let me show you one that was from. Well, here's Dak. This is what Dak had to say in regards to his contract.
The chance you might go back to the table financially. Are you excited about that? Stay here longer than what?
100%. I'm excited. Yeah, to be a Dallas Cowboys. As I said, I mean. Always dreamed to be here. Now that I'm here, I don't expect to play for any other team. And now it's just about winning. So just trying to get that done. And just to hear, obviously, as you say in the front office, looking forward to an extension. So when that time comes, it'll happen. Kind of with Steven on it, may just happen overnight. But when it happens, it'll be great.
When it happens, it happens. That was Dakota Rain Prescott talking about his contract. But here's something that Jerry said, the lovely salesman. We're not going to call him what I want to call him on this show, but watch Jerry's reply when he's talking about this. This is I just think, are you serious? That let me find this video on Jerry. I just think it's just oh, here it is. This is by Michael Gelkin, had it on his Twitter page. Listen to Jerry.
We want to get all the help around him, but as we know, when you have a competitive paid quarterback in the NFL, then you're not going to be able to get the most skill around him. You're going to have to pick your spots, and you're going to be a little slower one year than the next year. Not slow in terms of speed, just at what you're doing. You can't pay that position. Get Dak a minute. You can't pay that position at that level, take that much of the available dollars, and then put the exact thing around it. When Dak first got here, we had one of the best offensive lines in my mind that had been put on the field in a long time. And he had that. And so we had skill around him, especially offensively. Well, when you do what you do today and you invest in a quarterback the way you do with these premium quarterbacks, that is diminished. That's automatically has to be diminished. And so when you ask me the supporting cast around him, it'll be hard to get to a supporting cast the way he did when he started his career.
So the young fellas will call that cap, Gene.
Yeah. Stop the cap.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap, Jerry. Are you kidding me? Like, I mean,
his sales skills have diminished. You know,
yeah.
when he brought the Cowboys to what I saw an expose and what Dallas looked like when he first came in and took over Dallas and what he turned into. And listen, give him all the credit for it, but you got to stop selling this BS, this cap that he's talking about. Somehow other teams are able to surround their teams with the right players, and Dak didn't exactly have powerhouse. I mean, Dez was in the last number of years of his prime. So was Witten. I mean, Witten, caught everything, but couldn't gain a yard after the catch.
Right.
For most of Dak's 4 or 5 years that he was with him. What do you have? Williams, Butler. I mean, you
right.
tell me
the Butler never did it, by the way. The Butler never did it, so yeah. Unlike black people.
Exactly.
You know what I want to do for Jerry Jones real quickly? Watch this. This is what we're going to do for Jerry Jones. This is what I call flag on the play. And when you do a flag on the play, you don't get a whistle. I just need to blow a whistle on Jerry Jones because that's what that was.
Is this like a pass interference penalty, like a 50-yard penalty on him?
Exactly what it is. Because are you kidding me, Jerry? I mean, that was what we call Cappadocious, I would call it. So now here's an interesting take that I always find these guys on these sports shows, and we're having such a good time, but I'm not going to keep you all day, Gene, but this has been really, really fun. But I want to share this other video before we kind of take this thing on home and in these little short YouTube shows that we're doing. But this is a guy who repeatedly says idiotic statements when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. He is not the king, I don't think, is in terms of bad takes. We know who that guy is. He's a guy that
let me guess. Is that Skip?
It's not Skip this time. It's not. It's not in the words of Shannon. Skip. But it's not the blowhard. Colin.
Yeah.
It's not him, but it's another guy on his network who has said something in lieu of what we've been talking about. Jerry Jones has said the salary cap only exists with the Dallas Cowboys. It does not exist with the Rams. And
Nope.
to piggyback on your point earlier, the Rams, the Bucs did it. They won a Super Bowl. The Rams did it. They won a Super Bowl. The Eagles did it. They went to the Super Bowl. This is 3 years in a row.
We just get to the championship game. How much is the championship game? And then, you know what? Throw the cards up. If we win, we get to the Super Bowl. And granted, last year I thought we had a real shot. Dak didn't play well. I mean, the play calling, that's a whole nother issue, another conversation we could have. Kellen Moore, that's for another time. But they had a shot. Listen, they held that defense, held the mighty Niners, who were putting up 30-some-odd points with Purdy, of all people, for the last 5 or 6 games that he was there, or 7, 8 games. They were averaging over 30 points a game. The defense did its job.
They did his job, and you think about it, the defense, in spite of Dak Prescott's 2 interceptions, one was really bad because we were in the red zone about to put up some points that would have extended our halftime lead. It only led to 6 points in that 49ers game. So something with the play calling and the lack of a playmaker, because as soon as Tony Pollard went out, I said we're done.
They couldn't run. And again, they were just sitting on those passes. And again, those option routes, some of the crappy play calling where we're not utilizing the best abilities of our wide receivers. And frankly, who do we have? We have CeeDee Lamb, and then who? And
if you're telling me that Noah Brown,
Michael Gallup, no Brown is again. And look, I commend him for a good year for Noah Brown, but with the drop balls, the balls coming out of his hands into the hands of other people, like the overtime loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. And Gallup, I don't know. Again, it takes a year usually for ACLs, he was not even close to being the same. He made a few good plays, but he was basically a shadow of himself.
Yeah.
So
I saw
and
it,
I'm hoping for a big bounce back season this year.
No, absolutely. But I am definitely hoping that we cannot just hope. This is the problem with Dallas. We can't just hope that he has a bounce back year. We can't just hope that CD continues to be on the ascension that he's on there. We've got to bring in a DeAndre Hopkins or an Odell Beckham, draft a young kid in the kid out of Ohio State that everybody loves. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Njagba, something like that. It's the guy that comes out of Ohio State, a great route runner.
And then there's a guy Hyatt. There's another one who's highly touted. Again,
I like him too. He's a little faster, by the way. Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. I like him. And then there's the kid that they don't think will be there. Is the kid out of USC, who is the guy that they're saying is probably the top guy. And even Mike and them like this guy. So I seen it. But listen to this guy.
Yeah. Go ahead. I will tell you just one other thing. One other thing that I heard on some other stations, because of this new West Coast offense, as McCarthy says, there may be a change of about 30% of what their offense. Again, more slants and things of that nature, which again helps guys like Gallup, who's a big body receiver. But people are even saying that this could even help Tolbert even more, because Dak obviously had a conversation with him, spoke to him before the draft. They drafted him. Dak has a number of conversations with a few wide receivers as well. But Tolbert with his yards after the catch, which is what he was known for in college. Again, the system may be better for him in terms of being in that, slant type of a arrangement where he can get the ball and get those yaks. But again, we can't hope that he does that. We can't hope that Gallup comes back. You need a bona fide number 2 right now. And Gallup is more of a 2A, 2B now. And who knows, maybe even a 3 if
looks like more of a 3 is, like you said, he's looking more like a 3. And Noah Brown is a 4 or a 5 on any other team in the league. So let me just play you this video, because this is, again, we see this. None of us are ex-NFL football players, right? But we can look at talent and say, hey, there's some talent missing like everybody else. But apparently, this particular guy, EmmanuelOcho, so look at what he has to say about Dallas, and it just baffles the mind. Well, listen to this. Listen to what he has to say.
No, the Cowboys can't win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott, because if they could, they would have done it by now. How do I know that? Cowboys have given Dak Prescott Super Bowl rosters. Let's start in 2016. That's the first year I met Dave Hellman. True. In 2016,
he was a rookie.
The Dallas Cowboys went 13-3. Their roster had 3 Ring of Honor offensive linemen, 2 Hall of Fame offensive linemen, Zach Martin, Tyrus Smith, Travis Frederick being the Ring of Honor player. Their roster had a 1,600-yard running back. Shade, you know how hard it is to rush for 1,600 yards in the league. The roster had a slot receiver that was all-pro caliber in Cole Beasley. Ended up getting a second-team all-pro years later while he was older and even outside his prime. The roster had a Hall of Fame tight end by the name of Jason Witten. Their roster, the greatest touchdown receiver in Cowboys history in Des Bryant, meaning a Cowboys history of wide receivers with Michael Irvin and Andrew Pearson. Their defense also had Sean Lee at the Michael.
Oh, Sean Lee, that's it.
That's it. Not good enough to go to the Super Bowl, because who went to the Super Bowl that year? The Atlanta Falcons. They were 27th in points, and they were 25th in yards. So their defense was not good. Okay, Dak Prescott, you had a really good offense. Couldn't get to the Super Bowl then. Let's give him a really good defense. How about in 6-7 years later, this year? Now you give him a really good defense with Trayvon Diggs.
And you took away his offensive weapons.
With Wilcox, with DeMarcus Lawrence, with a whole bunch of beasts at top layer, defensive line, linebacker. We're stout. Can't win it with great defense. So now I'm asking myself, if we gave you a great offensive roster and we gave you a great defensive roster, you couldn't win it with good offense, you couldn't win it with good defense, then when can you win it? If you coulda, you woulda. So you can't. It's simple as that.
So,
I'll tell you this. And this guy goes waffles. He goes, waffles goes back and forth. He's on the Cowboys bandwagon, he's pumping them up, and then he tears them down. And obviously he was on the Cowboys shows. He was on the on DallasCowboys.com. He had a show there with a bunch of people there as well. He was.
I didn't realize that about him. Okay.
But the fact is, you look at Stafford. Remember Stafford?
Yeah.
Guy's got big arm, put on numbers and everything else, can't win. Comes to the Rams, and even when he throws pick 6 interceptions and everything else, winds up winning. So just because you have a great defense, and again, your offense is lacking because his offense is lack. The offensive line, okay, was in turmoil. Running back other than Pollard, obviously, Zeke still got his touches and everything else. So just because you had one and not the other one, or the other and not the other one, doesn't mean that you can't win. A lot of goes into it. Injuries go into it. Luck goes into it. I mean, look, when was the last time a team had the number one defense in turnovers 2 years in a row? That just doesn't happen, right? It's just a matter of chance. The Cowboys happen to lead the league twice in a row with over 30 takeaways in both seasons. So things need to break right. Look what happened with, again, injuries play a part. A bounce of the ball here and there. Yes, the quarterback has to play better. We all know he's got to play better. But, it's like in a vacuum. He's saying, well, if you have a good defense and Dak still couldn't win, he had a good offense in 2016, he couldn't win. How well did he play against Rodgers? And again, what cost him that game? It was the defense.
It was a defense. And see, that's the problem with these guys. They lack context to their arguments. Dak Prescott was a rookie 4th-round pick that went on a winning streak that nobody saw coming. So they're going to act like he had this loaded roster when he overachieved that year with a rookie running back who was doing amazing things as a rookie running back, and a rookie quarterback who took over for most often injured Tony Romo. He forgets that. He also forgets that in 2019, or was Dak Prescott was injured for the season, so he didn't even play. Yeah. He got hurt against the Giants
for most of the season.
Sure. Yeah, for most of the season. So he doesn't talk about that.
And of course, he lacked the mobility last year. He didn't run again. He ran a little bit more. 2021, he just wasn't the same because I think he was afraid to run. I think in his mind, and that's one thing I'll tell you going forward. Throw caution to the wind. I'm not saying you got to be Jalen Hurts and run for 700-800 yards, but there's the statistics when I think Dak ran for over 30 yards or something like 40 yards. I mean, the Cowboys were nearly undefeated. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Look at the game against the Bucs, and look at the game against the Bucs. He took what he could get, and he played lights out because he used his legs and his arm. Mm-hmm. And there's not a better quarterback in the league when it comes to throwing on the run than Dak Prescott, other than maybe Patty Mahomes.
Correct.
Right.
But look what they said about the Bucs win, right? They went on the road. They haven't won on the road and gone, the Bucs weren't that good anyway.
They always move the goalposts. They always move the goalposts.
With the Cowboys, it's always moving the goalposts. And like I said, the other 4-letter network agencies, and you got the idiots across the board all bashing the Cowboys. Orlovsky and some of these other guys, they always race to the finish line of who can be the biggest idiot when commenting on the Cowboys.
Exactly. So listen, Gene from Jersey, the resident Cowboys guru and expert. We're now getting ready to take it out of here. Look, he's got his dog in the background that needs to eat. I need to eat. People want me to do more and more shows today, so I got to get something to eat. My lovely wife has cooked. And as you guys know who listen to the show, every superhero needs his own theme song. So I got mine. Hey, Gene, we got to do this again. Really, really
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it, especially when we get closer to the draft. Like I said, post-draft, love to have those conversations.
All right, folks, this is Sports Bucks with Steve. We'll see you in a few. Thanks, Gene.
Hey, thanks, Steve.
All right.